As a kid, did you ever dream of becoming a professional race car driver? But maybe it was too expensive or always seemed out of reach. Here at Racing Prodigy, it is our mission to take those dreams and make them a reality. You too can be just like Jeff Gordon, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, some of the greatest drivers ever, and be a part of a world where real-life racing and motorsport opportunities are available to everyone. That world is now here. Here at Racing Prodigy, we provide real-world racing opportunities to those with grit and skill who may otherwise never be discovered. Thanks to esports competition, a new insight has been found. The skill set of virtual racing transfers to real race cars and tracks. Gamers and sim racers have proven that they can race real race cars against the professionals and win. It's now time for the world's first E2 Real Sports League, taking esports competitors to real-life racing competitions. Prodigy Racing League is here to offer aspiring real-world race car drivers the opportunity to compete across multiple gaming platforms to earn titles and coveted Prodigy passes. These golden tickets of motorsports allow you access to trips that are fully paid for you to train, learn, and even compete at Prodigy Week, our real-world racing academy held at Atlanta Motorsports Park in November. It is our goal and vision to draft the first class of racers from those who compete at Prodigy Week to fill the grid for our inaugural series to debut in 2024. We can only achieve our vision together, so join us today to test your skills, earn your spot at Prodigy Week, and enjoy the thrill of racing. Racing Prodigy, where dreams become a reality.
Hello everybody and welcome to the first tournament in the Prodigy Racing League, the world's first E2 Real Sports League. The winner of the all-important final tomorrow will claim the first Prodigy Pass, which gives one of these drivers an all-expenses-paid trip to Prodigy Week at Atlanta Motorsports Park in the autumn. 40 of the best drivers in iRacing have come through the qualifying phase to be here tonight, where we'll have two semi-finals to learn the names of those 20 drivers who will be fighting for that Prodigy Pass tomorrow. Welcome to Racebot TV, everyone. I'm Ewan O'Leary. Alongside me is Zach Sweeney here this evening. And Zach, we're very excited to get this underway. It's GR86s at Zolder. It's some of the best in iRacing across the world. They're here tonight and they're looking for those 20 places into the final tomorrow.
Absolutely. It is going to be a very competitive afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are around the world of racing action. A very historic circuit and a very raceable car, it must be said, the GR86 is. You know, it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's not got the most amount of downforce in the world, nor the most amount of power, but it's very easy to drive, it's easy to understand, and it is very, very raceable. So while Zolder is tight and twisty, I'm looking forward to some sense tonight.
Yeah, it's so raceable, the GR86, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it here tonight. There are 3 phases, by the way, to getting one of those Prodigy passes that we've seen in, already, and I've just alluded to there. The first phase being the qualifying phase, the time attack, if you like. Drivers having all the time in the world until the deadline on about Wednesday, when they had to set the best time they could in the Toyota GR86 at Circuit Zolder. The best 40 drivers of those, the 40 with the best lap times, have qualified for this, the semi-final here this evening. 10 from each race progress. There are 20 in each field, which makes up the numbers, and then they'll be in the final tomorrow. That will be here, broadcasted live for you here on Racebot TV, here on iRacing, on the Racing Prodigy Twitch channel as well. So make sure you follow us on all of those and make sure you don't miss the all-important prizes given out tomorrow, because, as you can see, Prodigy Pass is the winning prize. That comes at the end of October, start of November, during Prodigy Week. It's an all-expenses-paid trip to Georgia, where Atlanta Motorsports Park is, and you'll have a lot of fun there in the Radical SR1, I'm sure. Second place prize is by no means a bad one either. Aztec Sim Sports providing an Invicta direct drive wheelbase for you in second, and SimLab are providing a P1X Racing cockpit for third place as well. So lots to win for the top 3 drivers in this Racing Prodigy weekend here this evening. This is the first of many, though. It's not the only Prodigy Pass that is going to be dished out. This is one of many, and one of our many simulators as well. This is what we've got to look forward to here tonight, Zach. A very condensed format, it has to be said. 2 laps of qualifying over the course of 8 minutes or so for the 2 split groups, and 25-minute races as well, where the top half, the top 10, will make it through to tomorrow.
Yeah, it is very brutal. One of the most important races of your life, and it comes down to a 2-lap qualifying and a 25-minute race to see you through to tomorrow. So, yeah, you've got to be on it from lap 1. There's no dwindling around, no waiting around, and very much a sprint to the finish in both semi-final 1 and in semi-final 2. So, yeah, really looking forward to seeing what we've got, and I'm sure they're going to be a lot of quite a bit of desperation, I think, in that fight for 10th. I mean, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, etc. It doesn't really matter too much today in the semi-finals. It's going to be that fight for 10th that's really going to be very interesting.
It certainly is, but you've got to remember that these cars stay so close together because of how raceable they are. We could well see battling right up through the field, and that's exactly what we're hoping for. Let's take a look then at the sponsors that make this broadcast possible, starting, of course, with Aztec Sim Sports, who have recently released the Invicta Quick Release Adapter, which maximises wheel options compatible with Aztec Sim Sports wheelbases. The adapter kit enables sim racers to easily mount wheels that they already own to multiple direct drive wheelbases, including the one you can win for being 2nd place here in the Racing Prodigy event here this weekend, and other wheelbases from Aztec Sim Sports. They can, mix and match a little bit with the easy-to-use wheel connection, the immersive experience of optimal force feedback, and it featuring integrated power and data, which allows for hassle-free connectivity between the wheel and the wheelbase, making sure you can feel absolutely everything. It's not only that, though, it's been successfully tested with a wide variety of third-party wheels, so get yourself down there. Aztec Sim Sports is your place to be for direct drive wheelbases, and you might even be able to use the rim that you've already got. This broadcast is also brought to you by SimLab and Grid. Right now you can order their exceptional products for sim racers seeking the utmost quality. For example, SimLab's P1X Sim Racing Cockpit as the gold standard in the industry, and of course that's what they're playing for 3rd place here this weekend. Grid by SimLab also has a premium lineup of official Porsche licensed products available, including steering wheels, display units and all sorts, so make sure you head down there. SimLab and Grid ready for to meet your sim racing needs, so make sure you check them out alongside Aztec Sim Sports as well. A big thanks to those guys who are bringing you this coverage here this weekend on Racebot TV. Make sure you also follow us on Twitch at the Racing Prodigy Twitch channel. It's a bit of a new one. We're trying to grow it a little bit, and hopefully we can see you over there over the course of tonight, or indeed tomorrow night, where we'll be broadcasting at exactly the same time your way once again. Qualifying just underway then, Zach. We're in the low 44s already by the looks of things here in qualifying. It's Gustavo Ariel who's set the pace in the time trial phase with a 44.5 to the best of our knowledge, but during phase 2, during these track conditions that may just be a little bit more favourable for him, they've gone nearly half a second quicker already.
Yeah, that's nearly a second quicker than we sort of predicted they were going to be going for. We were like, okay, well, you've got infinite amount of time, essentially, as many laps as you want to get a lap under your belt, and you've produced a 1 minute 44.5. So under the pressure, 2 laps in qualifying, you might be able to get a high 44, but under the pressure, Gustavo Ariel, and to be fair, everyone in behind have put in some sensational lap times. I mean, Jamie Christensen is less than a 10th of a second in that fight for pole position. So yeah, they've really sort of hit it at the gate running with this one. Very impressive qualifying times, and under pressure as well. That's even more impressive because, well, they only get 2 laps to do it.
Absolutely. Ariel is a World Championship driver, by the way, in the world of iRacing, competed in PESC this season, and has got more than 10,000 I rating as well. Very, very fast driver indeed. In fact, he's the only World Championship driver in this heat, by the way. Or this semi-final, I should say. We do have some quicker in the second one. Amvla Kimichev there as well, 4th and 8th place, so there'll be 2 to watch there. But Gustavo Ariel, the only of the World Championship drivers here in this heat. Just less than 3 minutes to go in qualifying. That's not the important part, Zach. It's the 2 laps that you get around here that is important. And you can tell these guys have been practicing a lot. They're absolutely on it straight away. I mean, you've only got to look at the top, 7 or so, and you've not even found 3/10 of a margin yet.
Yeah, indeed. So it's so competitive in a grid like this, and can you blame them? They are giving everything they can in this qualifying session to make sure they've set themselves up well for 25 minutes of racing action. We are towards the back end of qualifying. The majority of people so far have put their 2 laps in, as we saw Nathan Del Carmen come across the line to round off his lap. Martin Barnett for Hungary is yet to put a lap time in, so really putting a bit of pressure on his shoulders in order to hit the ground running. He crossed the line, and I still don't think he's managed to put a valid lap time in, and he's also crossed the line as well. So I do not think that we're going to see the Hungarian very high up the grid, which is going to make his 25-minute showdown for semi-final 1 just that little bit more tricky.
It certainly is. A couple of surprises up and down the field then we can talk about, as most of the drivers have completed their qualifying, in all honesty. Nicholas Nolder was 3rd place in the qualifying phase for this, only around a quarter of a second behind Gustavo Ariel, but unfortunately he's qualified down in 12th place here. It just shows the importance of actually nailing it on the day. Very, very tricky to do. We've also got maybe a little bit lower than what we'd expect from some of the others. Michael Romanidis down in 15th. He's a very recognisable name for those of you who follow your iRacing very often. Has been up there in multiple special events and things like that, competing for highest of prizes. So to see him down in the bottom half is a surprise as well. But all is not lost for the likes of Nicholas Nolder just yet. 12 places, still a reachable margin in terms of getting that top 10. And that's all you need to do today, of course. Qualifying could almost guarantee your place in the top 10, to be honest, if you're inside the top 5 or so, for all intents and purposes. But if you're just on the fringes there, like Nolder is, then you should be absolutely fine. You're very much still in the race.
Yeah, indeed so, absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one. I think a circle like Zolder, as raceable as these GR86s are, provided you don't make any massive mistakes and there's no major collisions, a top 5 is a very safe space to be in. As long as you can sort of control the pack, I'm sure Ariel, Christensen, Hugenschmidt, Carmen and Banfield, they're not going to be too interested in racing each other. I'm sure they're more concerned about retaining that top 10 space. The real fight is going to be between the likes of Thompson, Dave, those towards the back end of the top 10, and those just beyond it. So yeah, and with obviously, as I say, how raceable these GR86s are, expect the pack to be very, very close. And yeah, let's not forget, qualifying is one thing, 25 minutes of racing action is still a whole different kettle of fish. So I'm sure we'll find out all the answers, but we've put the laps in. Now it's time for the race.
Gustavo Ariel, fastest in the qualifying phase, fastest in this qualifying session to get the first semi-final of Racing Prodigy underway. Jamie Christiansen alongside with Demian Hugenschmidt in 3rd and Nathan Del Carmen joining him on row 2. Ross Banfield and Ewan Baker on row 3 together. David Sobrero is going to be alongside Felipe Cabrera-Loyola with Michael Day and Patrick Thompson inside the top 10. Alejandro Razo will be alongside Nicholas Nolder, 3rd in the qualifying phase, only down in 12th here. Jeffrey Lund is alongside Matteo Coenza, who was 5th in qualifying phase 1, down in 14th for this session. Michael Romanidis there in 15th alongside William Augustine. Then it's Brian Borg and Louis Belicki in the 9th row, and rounding out the 20-car grid, it's Martin Barner and Blaise Andrick for your 20 drivers. So they're all set up, the pace car in front of them, so we'll have a few moments to talk through this. But I was mentioning surprises a little bit earlier, Zach. We've got a couple more with the likes of Matteo Coenza. He qualified 5th in that phase, only down in 14th at the moment. Alejandro Razo was 7th in the qualifying phase. He's down in 11th. 3 of the top 10 qualified outside of the top 10 in this session, which is really quite bizarre.
It is indeed, and I think it definitely does go back to what we were touching on, in the sense that doing it when you've got so much time on your hands, as many laps as you want, as many resets as you want, is one thing. To then go into the session with the pressure of everyone, the build up to this, the pressure, the prizes, maybe representing a team or whoever, you have to deliver. And with only 2 laps to do so, even the best, they're only human at the end of the day. You can see all their beautiful faces there as they line up before the start of semi-final 1. They're only human at the end of the day. Mistakes do happen, and unfortunately sometimes not bringing at absolutely 110% can leave you in a grid as competitive as this. I mean, the strength of field is sensational. So yeah, if you were able to get top 5 in the time trial stage beforehand, and you're P12, 13 at this stage, it can very easily happen. All that matters now is how you deal with that, and how you then progress in the race, and how well you can do and fighting your way forwards.
There's the wide surround screen, triple screen if you like, of Gustavo Aerial, who's very content with his evening's work so far, and he's been in our YouTube chat as well. There he is, just giving us a little wave, which is nice of him. He can do that on the formation lap, but I hope he's no longer in our YouTube chat, because he needs to be concentrating, although it looks very much like he can hear what we're saying right now. But anyway, he's going to be starting off of the pole with, alongside him, Jamie Christensen in the number 7 Toyota alongside him. So good qualifying early on. I wonder what the point is though, Zach, where we're going to start to figure out at what point have you qualified in the qualifying session, if you know what I mean. At what point have you gained such a good grid position that you actually don't really need to worry about racing? Because in my opinion, these GR86s are going to provide such close racing, everybody's going to stay so packed up, that you're not really safe, even in the lead, as Gustavo Aerial is.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Even if you have qualified pole position or wherever, you're definitely not safe. You've got to be on it from lap 1, whether that's going to be working with the drivers around you to try and build the gap to the rest of the pack. I'd say probably it's going to be very heated sort of from maybe 6th downwards, because 6th is probably a good safety net, obviously not a guarantee, but a nice safety net. Those that are in P10, you're not going to want to sit P10. Yes, it's good enough to get to tomorrow, but you're not going to want to stay there just in case something happens, just in case you make a mistake or you get collected in an incident or someone behind you has a second burst of pace. You want to have that little bit of a buffer where you've got a couple of cars in hand, and even if you are in P10, I'm sure we are going to see that driver maybe push for a little bit more just to get that car or two between the rest of the pack, who are definitely going to be very, very hungry for more, because, yeah, unless you've had a completely disastrous spin on the opening lap, you are definitely not out of this race until you cross the checkered flag.
I want to bring up a couple of points from our Twitch and YouTube chats that have been quite notable so far. Someone mentioning that no lead is safe, even for Gustavo Aerial. Certainly correct. And just noting the amount of countries that we've got on the grid as well. That's absolutely fantastic. A real diverse grid of drivers in the opening Prodigy Racing League round. Make sure you follow us on the social medias below there, and get ready for the racing we're about to see. It's a 25-minute race to settle the finalist drivers, as immediately out of the final corner, Gustavo Aerial is going to take control of this field and get the green flag waving. We're underway in the Prodigy Racing League semi-final number 1. It's Gustavo Aerial who takes the initiative straight away, with Jamie Christensen and Damien Hugenschmidt in the 2nd and 3rd positions. There's a bit of contact behind as Nathan Del Carmen just gets balked a little bit. Ewan Baker and David Sobrero are going to both get through. More side-to-side contact. Nathan Del Carmen will stay in 6th, with Ewan Baker pushed to the outside through 2 and 3.
Fantastic start then, and already the chaos is ensuing side by side through one of the quickest and most tricky corners on the circuit. Look at that, Ewan Baker trying to pick his way up into 7th place side by side with Loyola, and now maybe a move for the lead. Christensen trying to break away with Gustavo Aerial, I think, in the opening moments of this race. Too wide into the most technical chicane arguably on the circuit. Those massive sausage curbs on the inside can very easily launch you if you're not careful, but I think everyone so far, Ewan, has got through cleanly.
I think so, and side by side between Alejandro Razo and Nicholas Nolder, by the way, who both were in the top 10 during phase 1 qualifying. Now they're fighting down the order. So was Matteo Coenza, and look at them all fighting for what is about 9th place. Patrick Thompson is the one up front. There's contact, and Loyola's gone around. Felipe Carrera Loyola has gone around at the chicane, I'm afraid, and that's exactly the danger you can find yourself in if you're in the mid-pack like this.
Absolutely intense as well. We're too wide, so many different rows deep, side by side into the hairpin at the back end of the circuit. Jeffrey Lund trying to just pick his way through all the individual bits of carnage. Such a shame, it must be said, for Cabrera Loyola. It can so easily happen, and now his hopes arguably are gone unless there is an absolute miracle, which, to be fair, with racing as close as this, it might not be too far off happening. A little bit of argy-bargy as we round off the opening lap into the chicane. So far, so good for the most part. I mean, one casualty is probably the best we're probably going to get you in.
Absolutely, it probably is. Top 8 very much getting away from the rest, and then Patrick Thompson and Matteo Coenza are holding some very tightly fought over positions indeed right now. So First lap complete here at Circuit Zolder. 25-minute race, of course. It's an all-out dash. This is what happened to Loyola. It was contact, I think, with Alejandro Razo, who made the final blow there. Unfortunately, whoever it was on the inside there looks a little bit guilty. There's Razo getting overtaken by Nicholas Nolder into turn 3 as well.
Yeah, indeed. So big shame for Loyola, because again, it's so easy to happen in a grid as competitive as this. Only one mistake and, well, he's suffered the consequences, working their way through, launching themselves over the sausage curbs. These GR86 are so soft in their suspension, tons of body roll, and when you launch them over sausage curbs like that, it's a rocket ship waiting to happen. But no spins, and, well, back at the front, and Gustavo Ariel still able to control the pace quite well, with Jamie Christensen and Damon Hugenschmidt just in behind. Banfield as well, only half a second back. 4 cars in a train for the lead. Bit of a gap back to the rest, but a breakaway now. These cars don't really need to worry about fighting each other. However, these ones do.
You certainly do. This is Blaise Andricht and Michael Romanidis, who are down towards the back at the moment. This group fighting for 14th position, and it's not great news because that's not a space in the top 10. Martin Barner's going to find it even more difficult now as well, as he gets turned around by Brian Borg down in towards the hairpin, and unfortunately that sent Barner to last.
He has indeed, behind Loyola, and P20 in last. That's definitely not going to be winning you any prizes, and definitely not going to be seeing you progress to tomorrow. So big shame, of course, and, well, that is unfortunately just how things happen. The racing we knew was going to be competitive, but we'd hoped it'd be seeing a lot less sufferers, I suppose, if that's a word now. But you can see this quote-unquote fight at the front. This is exactly what happened, just squeezing over to the left-hand side, and I'll be honest, from Barner's side, definitely more could have been done to avoid that.
Could have given a little bit more room. Yeah, I agree. He did that to himself, in my opinion. But we'll see if anything is done about that. A little bit of a look there from Jamie Christensen, who tries to just get into the mirrors, get into the mind of Gustavo Ariel as they bounce and bobble their way over the curb at turn 5. That's the Klein chicane. And they'll make their way over the hill round this unnamed, well, it is named, sorry, turn 6, and then turn 7, which is this entire sequence. The right, the left, the right, and this right again. It's all turn 7. So there you are. The lead is very much getting away, though. It's Ariel, Christensen, Hugenschmidt, and Banfield, the 4 who have been detached from the very start. David Sobrero is there as well, bringing Del Carmen, Baker, and Michael Day along for the ride as well. And Patrick Thompson with Matteo Cuenza hold 9th and 10th, and that's only becoming a more favourable position because it's all going on behind. Jeffrey Lund has lost a couple of places to Nicholas Nolder and Alejandro Razo, 2 drivers who were in the top 10 in qualifying, now 11th and 12th, but there's a bit of a gap forming between 10th and 11th.
There is indeed. What is that? For about a second or so on circuit between Kunze and Nolder, and that is a very crucial second advantage. Christensen looking like he's going for a move. I don't think he is, more just to spot his braking point. No reason to go for the lead at this stage in the competition. Wait till tomorrow for all of that, and yeah, don't risk anything, because all it takes is one bit of contact, as we've seen, to end your entire day and, well, not necessarily send you home, but send you out. As all that's a mistake from Christensen. He's going to lose a couple of places. Got to be careful not to repeat mistakes like that, Ewan, otherwise he could find himself a lot worse off than 4th.
Yeah, certainly could. Needs to make sure he doesn't spin around entirely, otherwise, yeah, it will get a lot worse for him very quickly. A couple of people asking what the situation is right now. The top 10, let's not forget, are the ones who make it into the finals, so don't need to worry too much about these guys losing out. It's the top 10, as I mentioned, but for the rest of them, they will certainly be worried. The likes of Cuenza and Nolder, Razo, etc. We'll get to them a little bit later. But yes, top 10 go forward. And this, let's not forget, is semi-final number 1. Make sure you stay with us on whether you're on YouTube, Facebook or Twitch, because we've got another semi-final coming up straight after this one. It's Gustavo Ariel who's still leading this race, though. The top 8 looking pretty safe. They're covered by 4 seconds. This I think, Zach, is more encouraging for tomorrow, to be honest, because when the positions are actually up for grabs inside the top 3, we know that they'll all be there by the looks of things.
Indeed so. Yeah, you know, the raceability of these cars is definitely not under question whatsoever. Look at just how close they're staying with each other. Obviously, they're not battling each other, so it's down to just pure pace and slipstream and things. So a little bit of an exaggerated train, I think. As soon as battles come into to to play. There would probably be a couple of pockets forming, but it's great to see that even at a circuit as tight and twisty as Zolder, these cars can stay as close as they are. So great promises coming up for the rest of the evening, and obviously mainly for tomorrow when P1, 2 and 3, all the prizes are still up for grabs, particularly obviously that Prodigy pass for the drive-in, I think both the go-kart and a Radical SR1 at Atlanta Motorsports Park, which is a big prize, and I'm sure one that the winner is going to be very happy with. But that's tomorrow's discussion. Right now we're focused on that 10th place, which Matteo Kunze right now has got a very firm grip over, but Nicholas Zolder is definitely hot in pursuit.
Oh. Here we go. This is the all-important fight for 10th place. Matteo Kunze up on the curb. It was wide from Patrick Thompson as well. And now they're all getting dragged into this. On the run up towards the Klein chicane. It's a look to the inside for Nicholas Zolder. He tucks back in again. Alejandro Razo is going to close in as well as they bobble over that chicane once again. Got to make sure you don't get a slowdown through there. Would be very easy to do so. You do have to be careful to stay within the white lines at all times, of course. Down in towards the 3-parted chicane, or even 4 parts if you want to count the second right-hander. There's Nicholas Zolder, the concentration clear to see on his face. Only 2 of these drivers who are in this fight for 9th can make it, and at the moment Nicholas Zolder's not one of them.
He's not, and he needs to be if he wants to progress to tomorrow. The concentration, obviously, it's not a face or an expression of lost hope. Is right there. He can see where he needs to be. However, 16.5 minutes left on the clock. He's got to get in front. He's then got to hold it to be able to progress, and that is a very difficult thing indeed. But still, calm, composed, focused, which at this level of racing is pretty much the only expression you're going to see on drivers' faces.
Yep, you don't get to read a lot of them because of how professional they are. You can see his his hair wafting in the wind a little bit there. I wonder if he's got a fan going or something. Maybe it's a bit hotter in his part of the world at the moment, but he's currently just sweating, I'd imagine anyway, because of the situation he finds himself in, the German. Right on the back of Matteo Kunze in that 10th position. The Italian blocking his path to the final as of right now, as nearly 10 minutes pass in this opening semi-final of the evening. Zolder closes in towards turn 4. He'll be sure to not kick up too many of the stones on the outside, although he did dip wheels into the gravel there. And once again, he's just getting into the mirrors of Matteo Kunze a little bit, isn't he? He's not really threatening. He's not gone side by side yet, but he's making sure Kunze's well aware of his presence.
Absolutely, and Kunze is definitely stuck sort of between a rock and a hard place. I mean, he's got to almost attack Thompson while also defending from Zolder, and maybe even soon Alejandro Razo for 12th place, and making up the rear end of what could well be a 4-car train. So I think for Zolder, it's just a case of trying to exaggerate the fact that Kunze is in a bad spot right now, having to look forwards and backwards, both at once, if he wants to stand a chance of hanging on to that 10th place. And Zolder, his presence is enough. Just sitting in the rearview mirrors, making Kunze worry, stress. Is he going to go for a move? Is he not going to go for a move? What's going to happen? What does my future hold? And then that in of its own can almost force a mistake and force the initiative for Zolder to then pick his way through. However, Zolder's position isn't actually a luxury either, because, as I say, Razo is closing in at a rate of knots. So Zolder is going to make a move. He's probably going to have to do it sooner rather than later, so he can get that buffer and at least be inside the top 10 before the charge from Razo.
I would imagine that would be favourable, but obviously you don't get things all your own way. As Zolder is finding out here. A good run through turn 1 for Kunze, who's going to start to get worried here now as well. He's got 2 drivers behind him, and he'll believe he's faster than Patrick Thompson, and he can go through. He's looking at the inside of turn 3. He's up on the curb of the right-hand side. Now Thompson's out wide, and he knows he has to get aggressive. He'll get into the side of the Italian, and here comes Kunze on the inside. Zolder over the curbs himself. He didn't get the run he needed at all, and he'll have to watch them go side by side in front of him. We might see Razdo right involved now as well, although he's not alongside Zolder just yet. Thompson slots into an impossible gap just in front of Kunze on the run into the chicane. The first punches have been thrown in the first half of this race, but it's still not over. Kunze with a run down the hill in towards turn 7. He'll look at the outside line. He'll need to be really late on the brakes here. He wasn't late enough. He'll slot into 10th.
Beautiful bit of racing, great respect given, and still 1, 2, 3, and 4 from 9th downwards. A fantastic battle on display, and the stakes are now high. Coenza doesn't necessarily need to get past Thompson, but he's going to want to because of Nolder and because of Razo in behind. A bit of a send, oh my word, so late on the brakes into the hairpin. Is that more a blessing? Is it a burden? Because here comes Nicholas Nolder, picked his way to the left-hand side, has now got the move, finds himself inside the top 10. Was it brave? Was it stupid from Coenza, who now finds himself under pressure? Now Thompson's just going to try and bridge the gap while he can, but settling in just in behind there, single file once more. Nolder finds himself in 10th.
Nolder through, but I think Patrick Thompson's in a bit of trouble here. He does seem to be the cork in the bottle in this group as we cross the line once again. That's the end of lap 7. We should have 15 in this race here this afternoon. Over the course of the 25 minutes we have on the clock. So it's Thompson, Nolder, Coenza, Razo, the 4 you're watching on your screen. Patrick Thompson is in the lighter blue and white and black at the front. The orange and white is of Nicholas Nolder. Then it's Coenza and Razo in the very similarly liveried orange and black in the Toyota GR86's 11th and 12th. The top 10 progress from this opening semi-final of the night. We've got semi-final 2 coming up straight after this one, but the conversation's not done by any means. Razo gets involved. Nolder looks to the inside of Thompson. Nobody in 10th place feels comfortable, and I suppose you wouldn't in this position.
You wouldn't, and a bit over the curb too much, I think, from Thompson, who saw a little bit of a hamper to his momentum, but I don't think enough for Nolder to really go for a move. I mean, he's eyeing it up to forcing Thompson to go defensive, maybe trying to set up the triple cutback through this sequence of corners. Nothing really materializing as of yet, but only about 1.5 seconds back off of Razo is Jeffrey Lund, is Michael Romanidis as well. So this very quickly could become an even bigger train. Now look at this, Nolder under pressure once again from Matteo Kunze, forcing the number 5 machine to go defensive, and there's contact, and Thompson's round. There's more contact behind. That is such a shame for the 29.
It looked like Patrick Thompson just lost it on his own. Now there's damage on some of these cars, surely. Razo got into contact, I'm afraid. Jeffrey London, Michael Romanidis are through. Romanidis gets into 11th place, but Nolder and Coenza are inside that all-important top 10 right now. That could be the battle where it was settled. I don't think Romanidis and Lund are going to be quite done with this just yet, but Nolder and Coenza are now through. Now they have to, after working against each other for the last 5 minutes, they have to work together. This is how it happened. It just looked like a solo incident for Thompson, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was so convinced there was contact because of how he lost the car, but I think he just carried too much speed in, lost the rear end, and around it went. The unfortunate thing, I think, was where he collected Alejandro Razo in the incident in of itself. A bit of contact between the two of them, and, well, now entirely out of contention with only 10 minutes left to go. No way they're going to pick themselves back up. But what it does do is open the door for the chasing pack of Romanidis and Jeffrey Lund, who are not too far behind at all in this fight behind Nicholas Nolder. There he is, heading this 5-car train, as with only 10 minutes left to go. Time definitely not on the side of these cars, but, well, just goes to show how quickly things can happen. For a moment, Thompson looked as probably as secure as he could for at least a second or two, and then in the snap of a finger, everything changed, and unfortunately for him, he's got no one to blame but himself.
Real sad situation for him, unfortunately. He's found himself down in 14th now. The first of the drivers detached from this group. Michael Romanidis has got a very important job to do here, Zach, because he has to get into the slipstream of the guys in front. Nolder and Coenza initially were working together there to try and get away, but I think now that they've realised Romanidis has caught their slipstream, they've started to fight for 9th again, because they know, once again, I'll reiterate, 10th is just not safe in a group like this.
It really isn't. Well, it's quote-unquote safe in order to see you through to tomorrow. No, would not hedge my bets on 10th, would not want to be sat in 10th, would not be happy with 10th. If you're going to get through, you want to get through comfortably, or as comfortably as you can. 7th, 8th, 9th at a minimum. 10th, it's just too sketchy. Unless there's a massive gap behind, it's not good enough. Anything can happen. Yeah, you don't want to risk it. It's not worth it. Get yourself up a couple more places, take the risk, build up a buffer, and have that defensive wall of another car there to help protect you. And Kunze is definitely going to be looking to get past Nolder. So while yes, they're both inside the top 10, and you might be saying it's not really worth fighting and risking it in case there's contact, for Coenza, I think everything is still on the cards, and there is Michael Romanidis as focused as ever, currently in P11, and that gives him all the motivation he needs, considering he can see the buffer right in front of him.
And arguably, he's done the hard part. He's caught the slipstream here. Now that he's done that, now that he's in the draft, He can pick and choose his moments. However, say pick and choose, there's only 5.5 laps remaining, including the one that we're on at the moment. So 8 minutes in this race, and as far as I can tell, 5.5 laps for Michael Romanidis to find his way through in towards the awkward chicane at turn 7. It's a nice run through there for Coenza, actually, but he got into the grass on the exit part, and now Romanidis is going to have a run. Coenza knows it immediately. He'll gift the slipstream of Zolder away immediately. Could have left that a little bit longer. Now down into the braking zone of turn 8. It's round the outside for Romanidis. He won't be able to go through that time.
He won't, but he's got the up and under, potentially the best run into the chicane. Does force Coenza to go ever so slightly defensive. Romanidis is maybe going to fill the gap on the outside, but they all settle at single file once again. So, again, I think it is just down to Romanidis trying to put the pressure on. Person that is going to be loving this, though, is Nicholas Zolder just in front. It's allowing him to build up a bit of a buffer, give him some breathing space, make him not worry as much about what's going on behind him, because he's got that space. He doesn't really need to. And the more they fight for 10th, the more comfortable the number 5 machine is going to be in these final stages. And I think for Coenza, his aim has got to be to stay in the slipstream of Zolder, because that is going to give him a nice safety net, a nice bit of defense, if you like, to allow him to help keep Michael Romanidis at bay. But yeah, difficult road ahead, I think, for Coenza. It's going to be a very tough ask to keep that 10th place.
Very good once again to see the interaction in the Twitch chat. Make sure you get yourself over there. Racing Prodigy launching their Twitch here today. Make sure you get yourself over there. I've just picked up an interesting point from Nick McMillan in there. How much do you love spec racing? Absolutely, it's fantastic. Toyota GR86 spec racing specifically is fantastic as well. A real bounce over the curves for Zolder. He wants to get away at the moment. This is not done by any stretch of the imagination. Michael Romanidis and Jeffrey Lund are going to want to get through into this 10th place as much as you can imagine, and Matteo Coenza is going to be looking over his shoulder almost more than he'll be looking forward at this stage.
Oh, indeed. So, yeah, that's where all his focus lies. And it's not necessarily by choice. He's almost forced to, because he's got to be saying, where do I defend? Where can I defend? Have I got the gap to defend? And sometimes, even if you're telling yourself you've got the gap to defend, yeah, the fact that you're fighting for a place in tomorrow's final, you might want to cover off your bases just to be extra safe. But with just under 6 minutes left to go, Romanidis is running out of time in order to defend this position. There are our leaders, by the way, Gustavo Ariel, followed by Hugo Schmidt. It's been a very close fight at the front, but not really much of a fight. It's just been close cars following each other, which is good news for tomorrow, it must be said. But these guys, they're not interested in fighting each other. The only fight, the fight that means something right now, is this 10th place. And, well, these guys are not disappointed at all. And, well, yeah, they're giving their absolute all, which just goes to show the passion that these sim racers put into what they do.
Patrick Thompson's at the race. Not sure whether it was connection related or damage related, but it's a shame either way. Patrick Thompson was inside the top 10 earlier on, fending off for his life, but he couldn't quite do it, and now he's unfortunately out of the race. Unfortunately, Alejandro Razzo doesn't look to be involved in this either. I do just wonder, Zach, whether that damage, whether his contact with Thompson is holding him back right now.
Yeah, I mean, he did hit him fairly head-on, which tells me that there might not be any major discrepancies to the wheel alignment of things. It might just be a case that the front end is scrumpled in, which obviously would cause him a bit of drag. He just has to hope that he's not, slightly left or slightly right-hand downing, which would be a big hurt to his pace. Maybe it's just a confidence thing, if not physical damage, just the fact that his morale's been hit, losing hope ever so slightly, and therefore not driving it his best. But yeah, that damage definitely could have given a big dent, because it, to be fair, at one of the slower corners on the circuit, it wouldn't have been a massive hit, but a hit nonetheless. And it is a shame, because it was a fantastic fight, and just that small mistake from Thompson has had that knock-on effect, which for Razzo, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, which it's just that bittersweet moment for Razzo, because he's had the pace to qualify, but he's going to come home at the end of this race in P13.
There will be more chances, of course. This is not the only Prodigy Racing League event that's going to be held on iRacing, so don't fear, but make sure you follow us on the social media channels so you don't miss any of the announcements about that. Side by side for 9th place, Coenza getting restless again. Nicholas Nolder falling off the pace here at the end. Coenza making sure he doesn't hang himself out too wide there because Romanidis is going to fill that gap, and now he will. Outside line for the man we're on board with. He doesn't commit too much. There's got to be careful of Jeffrey Lund getting involved here as well. He'll get the run through turn 3. Coenza also with a run on Nolder here. By the looks of things, as Alejandro Razo unfortunately is out of the race as well from 13th position, but through turn 4 they'll go towards the turn 5 chicane. It's the third last lap now. Coenza right on the back of Nolder for 9th.
He is indeed. Is he going for a bit of a look into the left hand of the first part? The chicane so late on the brakes as Michael Romanidis, and he's carried the speed through as well for good measure, having to build up the speed over the crest and dipping your way back downhill in towards the next chicane. Nolder under still a little bit of pressure, so Coenza definitely doing the right thing here. He's not got caught up defending from Romanidis. He's still on the charge towards Nolder, and that's given him some motivation, something to chase for, something to build up his speed. And now with just over 2.5 minutes left to go, are we going to see a move from Nolder into the hairpin? Is he close enough? Are we going to see anything in behind? Coenza eyeing it up. Not really anything happened, just that Constantina effect. It's just waiting, biding your time for something. And I think for Romanidis, his best hope is to wait for Coenza to go for a move on Nolder and then find the way past the both of them.
Maybe, but what if they never make a move at all? Then he'll be in trouble. 2 laps to go with just over 2 minutes remaining in this race. It will run to 15 laps then here. This 25-minute affair in the GR86, the first of the semi-finals in the Prodigy Racing League iRacing tournament, the very first. Prodigy pass on the line tomorrow, but you need to be in the top 10 right now to get there. In towards turn 1, it's almost a replay of last lap. Coenza on the outside again, tucks back in. He looks for a move at turn 2. This time he's a bit more committed. He's down the inside, he breaks early though. Nolder will give him the room. Romanidis gets into the back of him, urging him on, willing him, pushing him to glory at the moment. Inside line for Romanidis, he could take 10th. Nicholas Nolder's on the outside in towards turn 4. They'll rub on one another, and side by side it remains. Nolder has lost his top 10 by the looks of it.
Yeah, that just goes to show you cannot be safe even in 9th place. The fight continues into the next braking zone. Nolder trying to go the long way round. He's going to pick his way through side by side. The track gets taken away from him. He's going to force the initiative, and Romanidis is round. And Nolder as well, I believe, might well be out of this race, or at least outside the top 10. Contact between the two of them on the penultimate lap, and Romanidis is going to be furious.
He certainly is. Goodness me. Contact at the chicane, and Jeffrey Lund has picked up the pieces from everyone there. Nicholas Nolder's out the race. Michael Romanidis isn't making it to the top 10. And that is big, big drama in the first semi-final, the first ever semi-final of the Prodigy Racing League. It's such a shame to see such a fantastic battle come to an end in that way. However, that's the way that it goes on occasion. Both Nicholas Nolder and Michael Romanidis won't be making it through, and it's highlighting the dangers of that chicane and the dangers especially of going side by side through it.
Yeah, it's never the best idea. I mean, obviously it's doable as the top 3, despite the fact they've only got 1 lap left to go, all pushing the limits of the exit turn 1. It just goes to show that, yeah, actually a good little fight in the background here. This is for 4th place. There's our Carmen side by side with David Sobrero. Obviously it doesn't really change much, but we'll take another look as to how things happened. It's just not really doable, and it actually was, I think, Jeffrey Lund that caused the whole thing in the first place.
Well, I couldn't really get a good idea as to who I want to apportion blame for that one. This is really exciting, by the way, for 4th place. I know it doesn't matter greatly, but it's still interesting to watch these guys absolutely go for it into the chicane. Oh, no! Del Carmen's in trouble here. Oh, they're all in trouble. Who's going to get knocked out here? Oh, out the race. Jamie Christensen has been DQ'd. He's hit the incident limit. He'll be out, so William Augustine might make it here. Who else is going to get going in time? I think Del Carmen is just about going to get rolling in time here, but he might well be damaged. William Augustine is all of a sudden inside the top 10. He'll be as surprised as anyone.
It just goes to show you've got to be in it to win it. No matter what happens, they took the risk, they took the gamble fighting for nothing, and unfortunately it's going to be to the absolute delight of those that are able to benefit off it, but it's not going to matter for this man here. Gustavo Ariel has controlled this field from lap 1.
Absolutely. It was really written when he took the pole position not so long ago, but Gustavo Ariel makes his way out the final corner and he'll take the first semi-final of the Prodigy Racing League. A small fist pump, a small smile on his face. He knows that the big job is to be done tomorrow. Gustavo Ariel has qualified for the final with flying colours, with Ross Banfield and Damien Hugensmith, holding him honest right to the very end. David Sobrero is going to finish 4th, and it's side by side between Del Carmen and Augustine to the end, is it? Who's coming over the line first here? It's side by side to the line between a couple of the drivers. That was very close. It was Del Carmen and Augustine who did come over the line. Del Carmen just beat Augustine, but what a story for William Augustine there. A crash on the final lap, a disqualification for Jamie Christensen like there was for Nicholas Nolder. I think maybe for Razo and Thompson as well. And with only 1.6 KI rating, William Augustine is into the final of the Prodigy Racing League. What a story that is for him.
What an underdog. Everyone loves an underdog story. And, well, until the final 30 seconds of that race, it looked like he was going to miss out. And then he stuck with it. He didn't give up. He put the laps in all throughout the 25 minutes, and he's been able to reap the rewards. There's the top 10. There's them through.
There are your drivers making their way through to the final tomorrow. Gustavo Ariel, Ross Banfield and Damien Hugensmith weren't involved in anything almost during that race. They knew they were safe from early. David Sobrero comes over the line on his own in 4th. Ewan Baker was very much on his own as well in 5th. Mateo Cuenza somehow finished in 6th after fighting for 9th and 10th most of the race. He was with Jeffrey Lunds there, who, you might be right, Zach, did cause a little bit of a kerfuffle at the chicane. Maybe he will be receiving a penalty. We'll have to wait and find out. Michael Day and Nathan Del Carmen will recover from that incident at the chicane on the final lap to come across the line inside the top 10 places, and William Augustine makes it to the final as well. What a story for him. 11th place for Brian Borg, who just misses out with Felipe Cabrera Loyola, who probably could have made it if he hadn't have had that early issue on the opening couple of laps. Michael Romanidis also could have probably made it without that incident. Louis Belecki and Martin Barner were also in that group, with Blaise Andrick, the final driver, on the lead lap. Jamie Christensen got disqualified on the lead lap. Makes you wonder why he was getting involved in a battle like that. Nicholas Nolder got disqualified on the penultimate lap, as we saw. I'm presuming that Razo and Thompson befell a similar fate at the end of that one. Well, I'm not entirely sure what we're expecting from this race, Zach, and what we're expecting from this semi-final and final format, but it delivered more than we could have expected. It was absolutely fantastic entertainment.
It was indeed, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of happy faces and a lot of not very happy faces on the drivers. Wow, yeah, what a way to kickstart the evening, what a way to kickstart the event for Prodigy Racing League, and, well, yeah, bring on semi-final 2, I suppose. We saw so much drama, so much action, and all of it very densely compact in that crunch time right at the end of the race. My question is, though, why on the final lap would you go 3 wide for 4th place? If you know you've got it in the bag, what do you gain? Nothing. What do you lose? Everything. And that has been the case for multiple couple of drivers, and a big shame, but those are able to benefit off it. No complaints from them.
Yeah, I certainly don't disagree. I mean, what do you think the semi-final 2 guys are going to be thinking about what they've just seen, though, Zach, in terms of the racing, especially that mid-pack battle, as you just mentioned there? You know, it wasn't the smartest thing to do. They know that now, but you know, a lot of people won't have done this kind of racing in the past. So what do you think these guys, who might have been watching a little bit of that race, what might have actually taken from it?
If you're in the top 4, don't be silly, I think, is the fundamental. Obviously, thank you, Captain Obvious, for pointing that out. Just don't do anything that's going to put you in harm's way. Don't go 3 wide on the final lap for a place that's not going to give you any extra advantage going into tomorrow. Yes, obviously, if you're in that 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that sort of threshold, that danger zone, absolutely. Final lap. If you don't go for it, you might be kicking yourself for the next week, wondering why you didn't go for it. It's better to go for it than not to go for it. I completely understand that. But if you're comfortable, quote unquote, as comfortable as you can be in racing like this, just don't. Just stay there. Stay single file. Back out. Lift off half a second earlier. Brake half a second earlier. Whatever it is, don't risk it, because you've got nothing to gain and everything to lose. But for these guys, I'm sure their full focus is just going to be on putting a great qualifying lap time in, because that, as we saw from Gustavo Ariel, was probably one of his biggest helping points through semi-final 1.
Certainly was, and Damon Woods at the moment has set the pace here in qualifying 2. Not quite as quick as Ariel, but also pretty quick. He was just less than a tenth slower than Ariel in qualifying, by the way. He's the fastest of the qualifiers in this semi-final. These drivers, by the way, all qualified in the top 40 with even numbers, if you like. Those ones we just saw all had odd numbers at the in terms of their qualifying position. Garrett Lowe has put in a good time here from in the 06. He was 6th overall in phase 1. That's a good start from him. Vlad Kimichev will also be in this one. He'll be one to watch, but he's down in 13th at the moment. Still think he's got one more lap to go, though. In terms of other drivers to watch out for, Sam Quinter, only 8th at the moment. He'll have a bit of racing to do here early on. And then you've got guys like Martinu, who will be who was 10th, overall. I don't know if he's made it to this one, though, unfortunately. No, I can't see him there. But we do have a lot of recognisable names here. Zach Dominic Hoffman's here. Veloce driver of past. ATRS Esports driver Patrick Hingston is here as well. He's qualified 10th so far. Luciano Vitvert, we know from Race Room, is 14th. This is a high-class field, just like the last one.
It is indeed, absolutely. That's some of the biggest names on the platform, all waiting, all vying for their chance to step into some real-life machinery. Because for a healthy amount of sim racers, that is the ultimate goal, is to use sim racing as a platform to propel yourself into real life motorsport. Being a sim racer is great, but you don't get the wind in your face, the sensations of being in a very, very fast car in real life. Obviously, some people would prefer to be a sim racer over a real life racer, but yeah, for some that is the ultimate goal. And some of the top names in sim racing, this is their chance to do it. This is their chance to make a name for themselves and to show why they deserve to be in some real life racing machinery. But also for some maybe not so familiar names, like we've seen through semi-final 1 and a couple of names in semi-final 2, they're here just to make a name for themselves. They're here to show what they can do. But yeah, I think we're in for a very competitive semi-final 2 because of the names that we've got, because just looking at the sheet of iRatings that we've got through both semi-final 1 and 2, big names, high numbers in their iRatings, and just very competitive times as well. Only half a tenth in it for pole.
There's Vlad Kimichev, who's only just practicing now, I think. He's in 16th, having a look up at something. And yeah, it's work to do for him. This is semi-final 2. Welcome along to all of you watching the Prodigy Racing League here this evening. It's the first of 12 tournaments we're going to have, and make sure you tune in tomorrow as well, because that's where we'll be playing for the Prodigy Pass, an all expenses paid trip to the Atlanta Motorsports Park, where you'll be test driving a real life Radical SR1 and so on. It's a fantastic opportunity. We're also launching the Racing Prodigy Twitch channel here this evening, and if you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook wondering why on earth should I go over there, I'm already watching. Well, we're giving away, we're having an iRacing giveaway at the moment, a $50 gift card giveaway from iRacing on the Racing Prodigy Twitch right now. So make sure you head over there, follow us on twitch.tv/racingprodigy, and post something in the chat, just anything, to be entered into the giveaway. That's for an iRacing $50 gift card giveaway here on the Racing Prodigy Twitch. Twitch.tv/Racing Prodigy. Follow us, put something in the chat, and you'll be entered. You'll be eligible to take those $50 towards your iRacing experience. On board currently with Sam Quater, one of the drivers who's been making use of his iRacing experience in recent times, for giving us a thumbs up as well. He seems fairly relaxed going towards the line right now, despite the fact he's in a slightly precarious 9th position. A 44.0 from him. I think he's gone over the 2-lap limit in terms of flying laps, so that's why that didn't count. You'd imagine a driver like him should be safe, even from 9th position. We know the racecraft qualities and the ability of Sam Quater to get through a session like this.
Yeah, but let's not forget that it's not always in your hands, like we saw with Thompson in semi-final 1 collecting Rosa. Just that the fact that you can have a spin and collect someone else, you know, it's not always 100% in your control. So you don't want to be led into that false sense of security that, yeah, I know how to race these cars, I know how to battle around a circuit. You've still got to be 110% focused, but it's a good thing that he's relaxed. I think it calms the nerves and gives you confidence going in. The last thing you want is to be in that opening lap tensed up, all your muscles compressed and stressed out, because that's just going to lead to more mistakes. So it's good to see him smiling and happy and joking about, because he's raring to go from 9th place already in the top 10. All he's got to do is keep it.
Let's see where everyone else is then on the starting grid. It's Garrett Lowe who's stolen pole position away from Damon Woods right at the end there by about half a second. Rick Kuznetsov makes it 2 Australians in the top 3. Cody Deef makes it 3 Australians in the top 4. There you are. It's Dominic Hoffman and Cameron Martineau, who I couldn't find in the list earlier. He's 6th place. I've found him now. Victor Miranda is representing Brazil from 7th with Rowan Gill. Sam Quater, as we said, is 9th alongside Patrick Hingston in 10th. Then we got Joe in the 11th position. Chris Steenberg is in the 12th ahead of Luca Becker and Samuel F.A. Smith. Luciano Wittwert is a long way down alongside Vlad Kimichev. They'll both have a lot of work to do from row 8. Stein Handgraf and David Dalton Jr., the lowest rated driver in the field, is 18th. Manuel Scully and Will Redford round out the 20 drivers on your grid. Somebody asking in the Twitch chat, by the way, who the lowest rated driver is here. I'll just mention it's David Dalton. 1.8k iRating to his name. It just shows that this really is for anybody. It's the whole idea of Racing Prodigy is to allow more people to have access to the real world of motorsport and have opportunities, because if you're fast enough, then who cares? You're in. And that's exactly what we've got right now. It doesn't matter what your iRating, what your anything is really. You can get involved in Racing Prodigy. You've got a chance at real life motorsport.
Indeed so, and I think it is such a fantastic thing to see for the community of sim racing, for the industry as a whole. Obviously, there have been other competitions that have promoted drivers into real life racing, and there's our pole sitter, composed, ready to go, eager to get this race underway. A massive trophy in the background as well, so he's obviously already won a few things in the past and is now looking to get himself into the final for tomorrow. But yeah, I think it's a great thing from Prodigy to promote yet another competition, because the fact that a lot of drivers that are promoted into real life motorsport do succeed. Deegan Fairclough got into British F4 this season, already multiple podiums. James Baldwin, when he did British GT, Jimmy Broadbent obviously promoted himself not necessarily from a competition but into the real life. So much success. Chembolic Bassi got himself up into Formula 2. There's a lot of success, a lot of potential in sim racing, and it's a good thing that Prodigy are here to try and extract that potential.
By the way, did I just see Garrett Lowe with a stock car door in the background? I thought I did.
Did he?
But maybe not. I don't know. Is that a door? It looks like he's got a wheel mark on it in the 6 there. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, he's got some nice decoration in his room. Anyway, with his triple screen display, much like Gustavo Aero, who was on pole for that first race as well. Once again, Zach, I'll pose you the same question I posed you on the formation lap of semi-final 1. How far up the grid do you think you'd have to qualify here to feel fairly secure in your position off of the start and throughout the 25 minutes we're going to have here?
Well, as we saw in semi-final 1, nowhere. I think the only place that was safe was pole, which was Gustavo Ariel. I think the person that qualified second didn't end up finishing second. I think Hugen Schmidt did qualify third and stay third. So maybe third place is an alright place to be, because Netsov at the moment and the Triple 8 machine is there. But from there downwards, anything can happen. It's just about how you and the people around you go about this race, how hard you fight with other people, how many mistakes you make, how many mistakes potentially they make. At the end of the day, Ewan, it's racing, it's motorsport, and it doesn't really matter where you qualified. It comes down to 25 minutes of racing action, and in the entirety of those 25 minutes, around about 15 or so laps, a second where you feel safe, don't, because it's a false sense of security, and it's racing, and it will come back to bite you in the backside.
We've been speaking a lot about drivers who are up there in the world of sim racing fairly often, like Vlad Kimichev and Luciano Wittwert. Just how much of a shock would it be, do you think, if those guys were to not make it here? I know they're starting from row 8 here, but as you just said, there's the ability in this race for things to change very quickly.
Indeed so, yeah. I think no matter where you qualify, it's 2 laps to determine a 25-minute race. Not really much in it. There's plenty of opportunity to work your way forward. It's just about capitalizing off the chaos and not causing it or being involved in it. Being the one to make the most of situations like that. Just be clean, get your head down, put some laps in, and carve your way through the traffic. It's not going to be impossible, let's say. Not necessarily not difficult, but definitely not impossible to get in a top 10 from anywhere on the grid. Let's
have a look then into the final chicane. Comes everyone now. Garrett Lowe and Damon Woods off the front Gustavo area went immediately off of the start. I think some of those behind were expecting that a little bit. Lowe makes them wait just a little bit and catches Damon Woods off guard a little bit. Cody Default slot in as well by the looks of things as they barrel in towards turn number 1. It's inside line for Cody Default ahead of Rick Kuznetsov at the moment through turn 1. Side by side in the mid-pack as weaving around goes Hoffman looking for positions. Just behind him, Patrick Hingston looking to follow through. Trying to get through on Victor Miranda at the moment. That's not quite going to happen for him. The front two get away from the rest. It's single file mostly inside the top 10, although there's a bit of defending further back. I think that's Hingston now having to defend from Rowan Gill for 8th place.
Indeed it is. So far so good in terms of clean starts, but look at that in the background. That looks... I don't even know how it looks. It just looks very bunched up. It looks fantastic for us in the commentary booth. Probably very scary for those in the cockpit. Lots of places changing. Sam Hewitt now dropped back to 10th place. Vlad Kimichev already up to 11th. Up, what is that, 5 places, I think, from the opening lap. Luciano Vitford also up to 14th, making the most of the carnage and the chaos. To round off the first half of the first lap, Sam Hewitt gets himself ahead of Rowan Gill as well to round off the back end of the top 10. Vlad Kimichev, I think he's done himself a lot of favours there from the 8th row of the grid to catapult himself now on the fringes of the top 10. He's already doing quite well.
Manuel Scully has been off earlier on, and David Dalton and Will Redford have both now been off the road, unfortunately. It's a big dive down the inside from Vlad Kimichev, who's already looking at a top 10. Inside line of Rowan Gill. His qualifying wasn't so good, Kimichev, but his racing certainly is. He's up into 10th place. He's still side by side with Rowan Gill, though, who's going to give him just as much of a late braking manoeuvre into the final corner as Kimichev just gave to him at turn 8. Inside line for Rowan Gill, and he'll hold on to 10th place at the moment, but he's really inviting the pressure here. We saw a fight for 9th during the previous race. It was so hard fought over. Now it looks like a very similar situation, but for 10th place in this second heat.
Yeah, indeed. So Victor Miranda able to get himself up ahead of 7th place now into 6th. But yeah, this is the crunch time. A little bit wide there from Rowan Gill. Vlad Kimichev looking very eager in the background. They can see the likes of Hewitt, Hingston, I should say, Martinu as well, up there in 7th place. Bit of a mistake from Kimichev. He's got to be careful. He wants to keep that momentum up and not stall behind Rowan Gill. He had sensational pace in the opening moments of this race. He has to keep that flowing, keep that rhythm up, and keep using each position as a bit of a stepping stone. Also, you've got Luciano Vitford, I think, trying to get himself ahead of the number 1 machine for 12th place. A couple of people trying to settle themselves into the chicane once more, but for Kimichev, it's all about staying as close as he can to Rowan Gill.
It is, and the two of them getting away from some of the others as well. Yehook in losing a bit of time there, and Luciano Vitford looks to be alongside. It's close. On the run up towards turn 7 they go. Outside line for Vitford. Side by side through to the whole of turn 7. Someone's going to find themselves up over the curve. It's in by the looks of things. Becker and Smith now side by side looking for their way through. It's Samuel Smith who's on the inside line and getting through now as well. Christian Steenberg is also here at the moment. Down to run, on the run down towards turn number 8. It's a big dive from Smith on the inside line. Gearhook has just been around the outside and he's going to get shoved out just a little bit. Small bit of contact. There he is on the right hand side, losing that 13th place.
He is, but he's going to be straight back on the offensive, late braking into the chicane. Already trying to pick his way back through, up in a third seat. Sam Smith, a little bit sideways, a little bit squirrely. That could promote Luca Becker and maybe even Steenberg into the mix also in the background. Handgraf moving his way past the 77. Garrett Lowe's lost the lead as well at the top of the timing sheets. Luca Becker down to 16th, side by side as they run their way into turn number 1 once more. Luca Becker late on the brakes, retains 15th place, but a very scary moment, it must be said, for Smith.
Yeah, and it's not good news for any of these guys to find themselves so far down like they are at the moment. 5 of them fighting for 13th at the moment. Manuel Scully and David Dalton already off the back. Will Redford already out of this race as well. It does seem that incident points and incident limit is going to be a bit of a talking point here. Zach wasn't expecting it to be around here, but I was expecting slowdowns actually to become more of a factor, but in fact they weren't the story. Off tracks and incident points certainly were, because I think all 4 drivers who retired were disqualified.
Yeah, indeed. So obviously 17 is the limit. For those that don't know how iRacing works, off tracks is a 1x or 1 incident point. If you spin, it's 2. If you make contact with another driver, it can be a 0 written off, or it could be 4x's straight away, which is just shy of about a quarter of your total incident points done in one corner. So you really do have to be careful. They really do add up, and you've got to be careful, very, very careful, because it's an easy limit to reach and it has huge consequences if you allow it to get that high. So an air of caution has to be taken from each of these drivers, especially towards the latter stage of the race, because you've had your off tracks, you've made your bits of contact. It doesn't take much to get a 4x. You've had those bits of contact, particularly at the end of the race where things start to really heat up, where the tensions really start to rise. That's when you've got to be careful.
And this is the pass for the lead that happened last lap. So Damon Woods getting through on Garrett Lowe there for the win. The lead. Rick Kuznetsov just in third. Cody Deef is there. Hoffman, Miranda, Martinu, Hingston, Koiter. In fact, the top 11 are all there. It's only these guys who aren't really, along with Luciano Vitvert as well, who's on his own actually. Just tucked off the back of the group. I wonder what Vlad Kimichen's going to do from his position though, because he's right with Rowan Gill at the moment. He's had a really good opening lap, gaining 5 places within that, but in the 3 laps after that, he's not gone anywhere. So I wonder whether he's going to bide his time a little bit. Is he going to wait, try and drag this entire group further away from Vitvert to make the equation simpler for himself to strike a little bit later on in the race, or is he simply trying at the moment but just can't find a way through?
I think only he will obviously know the answer to that. My best guess is actually, well, he's found himself up in the 10th place anyway. Rowan Gill has had an issue and found himself behind Vlad Kimichev. So, well, there's the answer to that one. He's up into 10th place anyway. Whatever happened there, Rowan Gill is now in 11th place. But what I did fear was going to happen with Kimichev was that the pace that he showed in the opening stages, he then stalled behind Gill, lost that rhythm, lost that momentum, and then couldn't really do much beyond that. But it's not really been much of an issue. Side by side here, Dominic Hoffman up to 4th. Side by side here is Luciano Vitvert and I think Rowan Gill under a bit of pressure.
Absolutely. So then, oh dear, what's going on here? Cody Deef and Victor Miranda are both off the road. Miranda is continuing on, but Rowan Gill is inside the Vlad Kimichev threw us out. What has gone on here? Look away for one moment and all of a sudden there's cars everywhere, and some of the main players at the front of the top 10 are now miles away. Victor Miranda is down pit lane and he'll be taking no further part in this race by the looks of things. This is what happened. He was side by side with Cody Deef, I think. The two made contact. They both slammed into the wall and, well, there it is. Vlad Kimichev, by the way, got through on Rowan Gill and also Cody Deef as he was recovering, but what a bizarre moment that was. An avoidable crash between the two, it has to be said.
Yeah, aren't they all really, though? There's more that can always be done to avoid incidents, and unfortunately, it's had really disastrous consequences, and that goes without saying. Yeah, a shame, and I'm sure they're both going to be kicking themselves as it didn't need to happen, particularly in the first half of this race, and particularly on a straight line as well. But it's allowed Vlad Kimichev to get into 8th place, Rowan Gill to get himself back into 10th, Luciano Vitvert to be one step closer as well, riding on board with 3rd place man Rick Kuznetsov, P3, staring behind Garrett Lowe and Damon Woods, both of whom shared the front row. Garrett Lowe was the one to take pole position, but again, 1, 2, 3, whatever order you're in, doesn't matter. As long as you're there inside the top 10, as long as you cross the line in those positions, you're through to tomorrow. So, yeah, these guys don't expect much. But it's weird, Ewan, it must be said, the amount of action that we've seen well within the top 10, despite the fact that it's completely unnecessary.
It is a little bit surprising to see, but, you know, these are not long races. These cars do draw you in. And unfortunately, for some of these drivers, they have been drawn in. And unfortunately, out of the top 10 as a result, Victor Miranda being one of them. Cody Deef is going to do well to hang on to this as well. I know he's got most of the drivers you'd expect to be in the top 10 already ahead of him, but even so, he could be in a bit of danger. Rowan Gill and Luciano Vitvert might both get the chance to go through as we ride on board with the race room start. One of the very best in that world. Of course, we'll be utilising that simulator a little bit later. Maybe he'll attempt to get a Prodigy pass through there as well if he can't do it from iRacing, but at the moment it looks like he's got time on his side to make the final here. Still more than quarter of an hour remaining for Vitvert to strike on Rowan Gill just in front.
Indeed so. Yeah, he's got to bide his time, but for anyone that's seen him, he doesn't like waiting around. He's very punchy, very eager to get those moves done, and a little bit wide there from Rowan Gill might invite the Dutchman to have a bit of a look. Defensive naturally goes to 74 Machine, but look at this run to the outside from Vitvoet. We saw it be a danger zone over the course of semi-final one. Look at how late Gill is. Is that too late? Is that just right? Over the curbs, Vitvoet gets the up and under. A nice drive and a slowdown potentially from Gill. Vitvoet into the top 10.
Yep, slow down, and it was playing with fire there was Gill actually when he was up over the curbs there, and he was going through in that sense, because that was really quite a bounce from him. Well, he's gotten away with it, at least in terms of not crashing, but he's not gotten away with it so much in terms of keeping his top 10. He'll have to hope for an incident up in front here. Damon Woods down to Cody Deef is one long line at the moment, with a bit of a gap between Martinu and Quector at the moment, but that might well be closed very soon, you would imagine. We're riding on board with Rick Kuznetsov here, who's into the second position. Garrett Lowe has gone from first to fourth in this race.
Yeah, well, we saw similar with Christensen over the course of semi-final one. Had the pace, but obviously dropped through the order ever so slightly. Would have been fine had it not been for the late disqualification. So I don't think there's really anything to worry about from Lowe's side, unless he has a drastic fall in pace. Again, fourth place doesn't really matter. But from pole, probably would have expected more to go into tomorrow being the race winner, having that confidence of winning a semi-final today. But as long as you're through to tomorrow, I think win 10th place doesn't matter. You're going to get the same result out of it anyway. So yeah, just press on, stay where you are, don't really fight too much. I think that's probably the thing, is that maybe Hoffman went for a move and Lowe just said, fine, have it, don't care, go for the move. It's not worth risking it. Why would you? Again, everything to lose and nothing to gain from it. Kuznetsov, though, promoted to second place and following Damon Woods, but again, don't really expect much. What I am interested in, though, is how close Rowan Gill is to Vitvoet. That gap already a second and a half. That slowdown could have been very detrimental for the 74's race. I think it has been, unfortunately for Gill. He's nowhere in the back of this shot, but Vitvoet may well be. So, is it an unassailable gap this early on? What's going to happen between these guys as well? Because we noted between ourselves that just what a quick turnaround it was for us between semi-final 1 and 2. It's straight in with the racing here at the Prodigy Racing League, not waiting around and talking for ages, which is great news for us and great news for the spectators as well. But it does mean that the drivers of this session may well not have been able to watch the end of that race that we watched in semi-final 1. They might have not watched any of it because there was a practice session ongoing for these guys at the time. So I do wonder how much they'll be, even if they did watch it, I was doubting how much they'd take from that race. Now I'm even doubting whether they will have watched that first semi-final at all. Yeah, probably so. I mean, for these guys at this level, practice is probably everything. I know when I competed in the Formula 4 competition last year, I just used the practice session to watch the YouTube stream, watch the girls' race that preceded our race, and sort of gauge what the dynamic of things would be from that. I didn't use it as to be a driver on circuit, but, you know, for these guys at this level, they're not me, and a lot better than me, so they probably used it to get an extra couple laps in, learn the track ever so slightly more, practice a key part of their race potentially, or they were on the YouTube chat and chilling, or Twitch, Facebook, wherever you are watching us from. We welcome you, and it's a pleasure to have you keeping us engaged in the various different chats. But maybe they were just chilling there, breathing, getting themselves ready for the race. Maybe they did see the calamity, or maybe even heard of it, and are using that to sort of calm themselves down for this race, which, in all fairness, you and I think has been the consensus. Semi-final 2 so far has been a little bit calmer than we saw at this stage in the first race.
Yeah, certainly, but that's probably down to the fact there isn't a battle for 10th place. Jihuk Im and Luca Becker are going side by side into turn 7 at the moment. They just can't leave each other alone for 12th place. Becker's through. Oh, and Jihuk Im already out of the race. Well, we thought that disqualifications for incident points may well become a factor in this race. I wasn't expecting it to be only the other side of the halfway mark, but that's the way it's been. It's down the inside from Steen Hangraft on Samuel Smith. He's trying to go through for 13th position. Unfortunately, these battles aren't going to mean a lot in terms of the top 10. They're only fighting for positions, banking on the fact that the top 10 may get incident points, may get disqualified, may have problems, but other than that, they're really living on a prayer, really.
Yeah, they are indeed. It does take a bit of a miracle, and obviously semi-final one was a bit of a special occasion, not special occasion, but like a special situation where a mass calamity of things happened that promoted people through. You don't want to count on that. You want to still put your best foot forward, still put the laps in, and still be top 10 on circuit, rather than being in 11th place saying, no, it's fine. Yeah, there'll be crashes, there'll be disqualifications, because you can't guarantee that. You've got to be in it to win it, and you've got to be very careful not to exceed the limit yourself. Nose to tail here, a little bit further down, of course, as they all try to close the gap ever so slightly to that top 10. I think queuing up behind Luca Becker for 12th place, and here is Stein at Handgraf looking to the inside of Samuel Smith over the curbs. But again, you're at this point, Handgraf is about five seconds off Hussein Vitford. At this stage, I don't want to say all hope is lost, but your situation as a driver, the amount of things that are in your control at this point, there's no way you're going to find 5 seconds and a few places on top of that in the span of 10 minutes. Like, at this point, while you can't guarantee it's going to happen, you are sort of riding on that miracle.
Sam Coiter is trying to make his position a little bit more desirable with a pass on Cameron Martineau, but doesn't look like that's happened, and he could find himself in trouble here with Patrick Hingston on the inside line for the ATRS Esports driver, side by side, and they all make it through. It's a nervy moment for all of them, and for those watching as well, given they know the situation in the race at the moment. So another look from Coiter, and now there's a group for fifth forming a little bit. And once again, I wonder what these drivers can actually learn from a battle like this over the course of this race, because they know that without an incident they will advance through, but they will need to race a little bit harder tomorrow than they have done today so far. So I just wonder whether they will practice that. Martineau has been overtaken by Coiter there, for example, but now he's going to fight back, and it will be side by side with Patrick Hingston looking to take advantage. He fits his car through a very small gap, and he might well be through to 6th.
Yeah, I think he might well be, because the inside line for the next chicane as well is the favourable line. He settles in behind Coiter for 6th place over the curbs. Bit of a mistake, though, it must be said. He's not lost too much time, and most importantly, not a slowdown as well on top of that. But yeah, you're right. They do need to get a bit of experience racing around a circuit like this, because it's all good doing laps and being quick and being in that position. But tomorrow, the gloves come off inside that top 10. People aren't going to dwindle around and say, yeah, 3rd is okay, 4th is okay. Nah, if you're 4th, you're going to want that 3rd place to get yourself that SimLab cockpit. And obviously, you're going to want to be in the running maybe to catapult yourself into 1st or 2nd as well for good measure. So, yeah, it is good to get that experience racing, find out where and when and how you can get a move done, when and where you and how you can't get a move done as well. It's good experience to have, of course. That racecraft is going to be vitally important over the course of tomorrow, but I think for today, the importance is not to be practicing racing, it's just to get to the end and at least see tomorrow so you can put that practice into practice.
Yes, put it to good use. 7.5 minutes remaining in this session then, and that's 5 laps. As we move on to lap 11. So final third of this race now, in terms of laps anyway. Just less than that in minutes. Top 4 are as follows. Damon Woods leading Rick Kuznetsov, Dominic Hoffman and Garrett Lowe. The green line on your screen is the all-important one. You need to be above that to advance to the final tomorrow for a chance to win the first Prodigy Pass in the Prodigy Racing League here this year. Out through turn 3 or 4, excuse me, down now towards turn 5. The Klein chicane. Damon Woods still very much leading the way. Out of these 4, they're all looking very safe in this situation. Once again, the top 4 or so qualified themselves out of trouble, really. Wonder what pattern with regards to that is going to emerge over the season. Now there's been a bit of moving around. Martineau and Coiter battling. I think Kimmich and Cody Deef may have been going side by side briefly as well. Maybe in that second group, positions are starting to change. They're starting to battle for a bit of fun.
Yeah, maybe so. As long as they keep it nice and clean and nice and respectful, and no one goes for any audacious sends that see them out of the top 10, then all's fair and all is good inside this fight. Because, yeah, if you are in the top 10 now, I think you are fairly comfortable. That being said, Luciano Vitford 8/10 back to Rowan Gill. That fight is still on inside the final 6 minutes. However, forced to go defensive there, I think, is Patrick Hingston. He's got Cameron Martineau close for company. They all settle into single file once again, though. Again, no silly sends. If you can go for a move and it can get done, 75%, 80% chance of coming off, then yeah, go for it happily. However, inside this final 5 minutes, could we see Rowan Gill pick himself back inside the top 10? I think that is a very interesting narrative and a good comeback story after the slowdown early on. But right now, a pretty good fight here, a long train for 5th place, which shows good promise for tomorrow.
Well, as we've mentioned in the past, this is, of course, the first tournament for the first Prodigy Pass in the Prodigy Racing League here this year. And people have been asking, when's the second one? When's the third one? What's coming up in the future? Well, we can now announce the second Prodigy Racing League tournament will kick off later tonight with the first iOS mobile competition in partnership with Street Kart Racing. Go to racingprodigy.com to enter and get the game, which is free to play. So there you are, the second Prodigy Pass going to be awarded on iOS mobile competition. Street Kart Racing, visit racingprodigy.com for all of the details. So hope you've enjoyed the racing here tonight, and it's still going on, and it might have encouraged you to try and get a Prodigy Pass of your own. In towards the difficult and fiddly chicane again for Patrick Hingston here in 5th position. Martinu Kuta, Deeth Kimichev behind. Vitford and Rowan Gill are not far away from one another either in that 10th position, but there's the fight. Sam Kuita barely looking concentrated at the moment. Just relaxed, I think is the word, with 3 laps to go at the line.
Indeed so. Best way to be, of course. I see a couple of people in the Racing Prodigy Twitch chat noting on that fact as well. Being tense, it's the worst thing. It's like breathing, you sort of do it without thinking, and as soon as you're thinking you're doing it, it's just not pretty. It's the same thing sort of with racing as well. As soon as you start questioning each of your decisions, and as soon as you actually start to think about each and every single thing that you do, you just get tense, you get nervous, you start to doubt yourself. Those split-second decisions, you don't make the right choice. It's just not a good mindset to be in. So to be relaxed, to be calm. Sometimes the quickest laps you put in are the ones you don't even think that you're doing. Just a cooldown lap even can not be too far off your personal best in some cases, purely because you're just laid back, you're relaxed, you're just driving with feel, with instinct, you're not stressing about each and every single apex. That's exactly what I think what we're seeing from Kuta here. He's inside the top 10, he's got no reason to be stressed, and he's just having fun out there fighting with Hingston and Martineau, trying to get the up and under as they run their way through turn 4. Bit of a bump there from Kuta, showing his intent more than anything, or maybe not, he's actually looking to the right hand side. Probably the best thing to do inside the final 20% of this race, with just over 3 minutes left to go into that chicane. But yeah, absolutely, it's the best way to be. Don't think about what you're doing, don't be tense, just relax, breathe, go with the flow, and basically do what Kuita's doing, because it's working out for him in 7th.
He knows the situation here, just Kuita. He really doesn't want to have a battle with Martineau, although I think Cameron Martineau is braving himself for a bit of a defence of that 6th position. I don't think Kuita is interested in trying to pass. He'll even let Cody D through, I would imagine, if he had to. And by the way, Luciano Vitford has caught up to this group. You can see the dark car at the end of the group, and then there's another machine just hanging about a second and a half off the back of them all or so. That is Rowan Gill, who's looking for that all-important 10th position. Cody Deeth, I think, is going to be one of those drivers breathing a bit of a sigh of relief here today, because his incident with Victor Miranda could have ended oh so different.
It could have, and yeah, you've got to be careful, because if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Fortunately, no harm, no foul, and he is still up there in the top 10, albeit 8th, but with enough of a margin, I think, to sort of hang on to it. He's got Vlad Kimichev and Luciano Vitford behind, and then 1.5 seconds back to Rowan Gill. This back-end fight of the top 10, not really going to focus too much about battling each other. They don't want to risk bringing Rowan Gill in for nothing and risk one of them being lost, as they are all very close into the final stages. And that's a look to the inside there, fighting over it. Is that this very fight? No, this is Luca Becker versus Stein at Handgraf, and they go side by side through turn 4. So this fight here is more for a bit of fun and to seeing how high up you can get. Too wide between the two of them. But I think Steamboat also trying to get into the mix as well.
Too wide, too deep there. As there's a dive from Luciano Vitford by the looks of things in towards the chicane, or a half-hearted one anyway. Here it is though, 4 cars covered by a blanket. Becker, Handgraf, Steenberg, Smith all into the chicane, and there's contact between Heingraf and Steenberg and Heingraf. Unhappy for everybody. They've thankfully not been disqualified. They're not too close to the incident limit, but it's an unfortunate state of affairs. I think if we've learnt anything from today, it is about that chicane in particular. A lot of incidents have happened there.
Yeah, indeed. So, as I said, in semi-final 1, the sausage curbs on the inside, they're going to launch your car if you're not careful. It's a 90-degree left, pretty much a 90-degree right, particularly if you are going side by side. The driver on the inside, maybe whether it's the right or the wrong thing to do, naturally is going to squeeze you out, because the line you take is to try and straight line it as much as possible. You don't do a 90-degree left into a 90-degree right. You try and cut it off as much as you can and take a wider angle through to maintain the minimum speed. And if you are going too wide there, it's just asking for trouble. So I think the better way to do things is to set yourself up for an up and under, wait for a better overtaking opportunity. And these are all lessons these drivers are going to learn going into tomorrow as well, where and when and how not to and how to pass. One more lap left to go, and still very, very close fights on the circuit. Hopefully nothing silly into that chicane though as we take another look.
Let's see what's went on here. Yeah, it's a bit messy really, isn't it? And as I say, it's all about learning for those guys in terms of not making it here today, and also for the guys who do, learning what you can and can't get away with through that chicane, because it's an important point on the racetrack. Cody Deef and Vlad Kimachev going side by side in towards it as well right now, which will be concerning for everybody. Rowan Gill will close in, and we may well get a battle for 10th for the end here, because the gap's only about 6 or 7 tenths there. Luciano Wittmann will be looking over his shoulder a little bit nervously here.
Well, indeed, he's got to be careful not to fall victim to it. Very, very close fight. There is the 25 machine of Vlad Kimachev. Luciano Wittmann now. This might sort of blow smoke up his backside and force him to maybe get a move done, unless Rowan Gill, I don't think he's close enough here, Ewan. Half a second with a few corners left to go. I don't think he's got enough.
Down the inside for Hingston as he defends again from Martineau, but it's Rowan Gill who will look for that 10th position just behind. The battles will go on as the checker flag now waves for Damon Woods, who will take semi-final 2 here in the Prodigy Racing League. There are the 4, Woods, Kuznetsov, Hoffman and Lowe. They've all made it, but what about the battle for 5th place? Who's going to make it out of this? Hingston and Martineau side by side. There's more side by side behind as well. Wittmann is just about going to sneak into 10th place. They're all covered by a blanket at the end. That's a great sign for tomorrow. These raceable cars providing the action at Zolder, but unfortunately it's Rowan Gill out of that group who will be the one and only to miss out.
Yeah, indeed, so close yet so far, unfortunately. I think without that slowdown, he might well have been able to do it, but shoulda, coulda, woulda at the end of the day. He's the one that made the mistake, and, well, he's made his bed now, he's got to lie in it. Very unfortunate, and probably 11th is the worst place outside the top 10 to finish, because you were so close, just one place off, and the difference of, what is that, 0.3 of a second has spelt an end to his journey for this round of the Prodigy Racing League. There's still other opportunities for him to get involved and come back stronger, but, well, for the top 10, they've done a great job, and there's your race winner.
Damon Woods, pleased with his race, the only of the 2 semi-finalists to have won, not from pole position. It was from the front row at least, but he wasn't the pole sitter, but he is a race winner, and he'll be advancing forward to the final with 9 others, and heading forward. There will be 20 in that final tomorrow. Make sure you join us for that. Don't go anywhere tonight though. We've still got one more giveaway to give to you here this evening. And same as before, although we're just upping it a little bit. And a $100 iRacing gift card giveaway. If you come over to twitch.tv/racingprodigy, follow us there and post in the YouTube chat. There's the link, Racing Prodigy on Twitch and Instagram. But Twitch is what you want to follow us on, and post in our Twitch chat while the post-race interviews are going on. So make sure you stay with us to see if you're able to win the $100 iRacing gift card giveaway here from the Prodigy Racing League. Here are the results then, and it's an Australian 1 and 2. Damon Woods and Rick Kuznetsov half a second apart, with Dominic Hoffman and Garrett Lowe joining them in getting away. Patrick Hingston just beat Karen Martineau to the line, with Sam Quater only 2 thousandths behind. Cody Deef in the 8th place out of Vlad Kimachev, and Luciano Wittmann, the 10 drivers who made it to the final. Rowan Gill just missed out. Luca Becker had a good battle with Samuel Smith towards that latter portion of that race. Mabel Scully's lap 1 incident put him down in 14th. David Dalton's also had a lap 1 crash. That was 15th for him. Steinhangraf's issues came a little bit later, and so did Christian Steinberg's. They were 16th and 17th. Hyuk Im was disqualified around halfway round. Victor Miranda and Will Redford had damage that would not be repaired. Well, there you have it. A fantastic race and couple of semi-finals here today. Make sure you post in the chat, follow us on Twitch for that giveaway. We'll be announcing the winner in the chat very, very soon, so make sure you get yourself down there if you're on YouTube or Facebook at the moment. However, before we go into any post-race interviews, we're going to have a quick look at David Cook, the CEO of Racing Prodigy, who's about to tell us even more about this incredible project.
Hi everyone, I'm David Cook from Racing Prodigy. We've been asked why we created the Prodigy Racing League, which is the world's first E-to-Real motorsports league. Someone told me that racing doesn't need another series, but we don't agree. It needs one more, and it needs it now. Racing needs a series that's open to everyone, regardless of one's bank account or connections. A series where driving skill is the only differentiator. So why is the world's first E-to-Real motorsports league the solution to the access problem? Well, advancements in gaming and simulation software have helped prove that the skill sets from racing games translate to real race cars. Nissan demonstrated this several years ago. Mazda was next, when I proudly oversaw its shootout competitions in which sim racers competed against real-world racers for a professional contract. And when iRacing's Glenn McGee won one of the competitions, it reinforced that gaming can help solve the access challenges. Only about 1 million people race in real life, and there are more than 3 billion gamers. Some of the fans and some of the gamers who watch professional racing on screen must have more born with talent than those they're watching, but have never gotten the opportunity to race themselves. And we know that when sports, talent, and opportunity meet, this is how you discover prodigies. And this is why we partnered with several game publishers, with more on the way. And why companies are teaming up with us to provide opportunity to those deserving. Why thousands, and we anticipate millions, will enter our sim racing tournaments over time, and even more will watch our PRL, sim racing, and real-world racing competitions. Revolutionizing motorsports will require exceptional people and a courageous team. We've assembled a group with experience specifically for this E-to-Real league. Our team has previously supported Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, the NFL, NBA, gaming, as well as E-to-Real competitions. Our mission is to reinvent and open motorsports through gaming competitions, discover and develop talent, and provide sustainable, real-world racing careers for those who shine. It's past time that everyone has the opportunity to enjoy the thrill of racing. This is why we created the Prodigy Racing League.
That was David Cook, CEO of the Racing Prodigy project, telling us a little bit more about what we're doing here with the Prodigy Racing League, and it's absolutely wonderful to see. We've had the opening couple of races for the Prodigy Racing League's first tournament, the iRacing part of this at Circuit Zolder with the Toyota GR86s, a couple of 25-minute races that have produced Gustavo Ariel and Damon Woods as your winners, but more importantly, they've produced us 20 finalists who will be racing tomorrow if you join us once again for our second broadcast. Gustavo Ariel and Damon Woods both join us now as round winners from the semi-finals. We'll go to Gustavo first, since it was semi-final one. Welcome in, Gustavo. Good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about what that race was like, because we know it's about getting into the top 10. You qualified at the front, so you were never really in that cut-off line. You were never really in danger. So what did you learn from that opening 25-minute race?
Well, to be honest, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. But yeah, to be honest, I was trying to understand the car because we did like some test races to know about the temperature, you know, but this car is so sensitive with the front, so we need to learn a lot with the tires in the first 10 laps. So that was my goal, to understand more, just to train for tomorrow, just to qualify. I was looking at the top 10 guys to see, oh my god, Nicholas is out, some other guys fast is out, so tomorrow I think will be unexpected because we have some fast drivers out. So yeah, I think I was just trying to understand and to prepare myself for tomorrow to understand about the draft of the car, you know, to maintain my lead, the points I need to defend tomorrow. So yeah, it was just more like a test race for me. Of course, to win it, I want to win. I don't want to finish in P2 on that one. So yeah, I just started to win and to understand more things for tomorrow. But yeah, was a good one. I'm happy for that. I'm happy also to qualify on the first position of this qualifying. And yeah, it wasn't a good race. And I watched the second race. I tried to learn about how the guys is doing their moves. So trying to understand every plans for tomorrow. Yeah, that was my goal for today.
Interestingly, in both semi-finals, the eventual winner qualified on the front row. How important is qualifying going to be tomorrow when the win's up for grabs?
Yeah, I think it will be very important because, yeah, you saw Vlad on the qualifying. He's a very fast driver and he did an off track. So the chicane here is very tough to nail it. If you nail it, you gain like 210. So yeah, I'll just try to put my safe lap on the qualifying. When I did a mistake on the chicane and I lose 210, oh my god, I lose the pole position and I'll be starting from P8, I think. And when I saw I still P1, I think, oh my god, I just need to put a safe lap. Don't do a lot of mistakes. I think if you start on the top 4, I think it's the way to go. I think if you start P5, P6, you need to grind a bit on the first laps. But yeah, that's a very important thing. Unfortunately, my teammate Victor was involved in an accident on the mid of the race. So yeah, very sad don't have him tomorrow to race with us. But yeah, I'm happy with all the team support, the technical racing by Tony Kanaan drivers. It's good to participate in a competition like that after the past month. So yeah, looking forward for tomorrow. Congrats to Demo on the victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you there, Gustavo. Congratulations on winning semi-final number 1, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys. Good time.
Thanks very much. Gustavo Aero there, semi-final 1 victory. Damon Woods won in semi-final 2, and he is also joining us now. Damon, welcome in as well. Good to have you here. Gustavo mentioned off-tracks there, and that was a bit of a theme in his semi-final, a little bit more than yours. But was it a worry today for you? Is it going to be a worry tomorrow?
I think it's going to be very tough on off-tracks, especially if the racing gets a lot closer with the 4Xs and including the netcode as well. So I think managing the off-tracks in the first few laps, first 5, taking it easy, making sure you have a bit of a buffer towards the last 3 or 4, I think that's the way to go. But yeah, I think just got to play it safe and then, yeah, try and go big at the end.
This Toyota GR86 is obviously a car that everyone can use in iRacing as long as you've got the service. It's available to everybody, which is, I guess, what makes this idea so good. But the real top drivers like you wouldn't traditionally drive it so often. Has it been difficult to get used to this car? Have you driven it a lot in the past? What's the situation with getting to grips with that?
Prior to this, I had not driven this car in an extensive amount, so I kind of jumped into the time trial and kind of learnt my way around how it handled, and yeah, eventually was able to find a decent base where I could just push and then eventually keep finding time.
Well, it worked out well for you on this occasion. Damon Woods, congratulations on winning semi-final 2 tonight, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks very much. Damon Woods, there, winner of semi-final 2 here at Zolder this afternoon. Well, there are our 20 drivers, Zach. We've sorted out who's going to be in the final tomorrow, and we're looking forward to it because we've seen some cracking racing tonight. Things will just be turned up to 11 tomorrow, though.
Yeah, indeed so. I think, obviously, we saw it quite tame towards the top end of the top 10. Tomorrow, we're going to see the complete opposite. People are not going to be sat nose to tail in those trains. That's not going to be happening. They are going to be giving it, pushing it for the entire evening of racing. And I, for one, really cannot wait to watch. I'm sure everyone at home equally cannot wait to watch it. We're in for a very, very good race and hopefully a very deserved winner as well. I'm sure whoever comes out on top will deserve it. Of course, they've worked hard. But yeah, today was one thing. Tomorrow is going to be a whole different kettle of fish.
It absolutely is. A big thank you to everybody who's been watching here this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you along for the first Prodigy Racing League semi-final night here at Circuit Zolder on iRacing. We'd like to thank the official partners of the Racing Prodigy and Prodigy Racing League before we go here this evening. SimLab, Grid Engineering and Asetex Sim Sports, who have helped make this broadcast possible. A big congratulations to all drivers who made it tonight, but specifically those who have gotten through into the 20 finalists that we will see tomorrow. Make sure you join us at the same time in the same place you found us tonight, on the twitch.tv Racing Prodigy channel, on Racebot TV's YouTube, on iRacing's YouTube, or Facebook channels as well. You'll be able to find us everywhere on the internet at 5 p.m. UTC tomorrow night. It's the first ever Prodigy Racing League final from Circuit Zolder in the GR86s, so I hope to see you then. But for now, we will bid our farewells. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Zach Sweeney. Hugo Louise has been behind the producing camera. The replays have been Juliana Caesar, and the observers have been Juliana Caesar and Camilla Moraes as well. A big thank you to everybody behind the scenes here for this Prodigy Racing League broadcast. We'll see you tomorrow for our first ever final. Goodbye for now.